way. Quick way.
Our next destination will be Camp Broken Glass. I desire elaboration on the dealings between the Ilsagard contingent and the citizens of Garlemald. The report described the contingent's purpose as the salvation of the local populace. Furthermore, both factions faced a common enemy in the Telephoroi. Why did they not immediately combine forces to their mutual benefit? This inconsistency requires closer examination. Kaneko time, initiate teleportation.
Quay KKKKK. Quay KKKKK.
Teleportation successful. Evaluating immediate environs. A cold weather region by Ether is standards, but significantly less extreme than a star with ice planet classification. This body should not be unduly impeded. In contrast to Alpha and his uncontrollable shivering, my frame appears highly resistant to low temperatures. Retrieving data. Records indicate that remnants of the contingent force and a number of Imperial citizens yet inhabit this location. We must speak with representatives from both factions, and explore their respective attitudes. Proceed.
Omega and Alpha are now accompanying you. Keep them at your side in order to proceed with quest objectives. You can leave your quest companions behind by entering a different area, or by speaking with them and selecting the option to part ways. If you wish to have your companions join you again, return and speak with them at the original location.
Kaneko, come to see how things are progressing, have you? I can't speak for the overall strategy, but communication with the locals has become a damn sight easier since Jewel Luz and his soldiers stepped in to help. Oh, we still face our fair share of distrust, of course. Some folk even think we are enslaving minds with our foreign magics. We have Anima to thank for putting that idea in their heads. But all things considered, I'd say we are doing pretty well. Establishing an open dialogue was the first big step.
Query. You consider this level of progress acceptable? The reality of your efforts falls far short of the ideal. If your aim is to provide efficient succor to the local populace, then absorbing their numbers into your command structure would be the optimal path.
Oh, I wouldn't want to go that far. We are not looking to take over their nation. If we are to do this the right way, we need to recognize and respect each other's way of life. So while it may not be the easiest solution, I agree with the contingent's slow and steady approach. I'm just happy we are saving lives. I'm Alam Higan, but I was also an Imperial conscript until not so long ago. Though I was lucky enough to have a decent commanding officer, many Garleans treated provincials like we were less than people. On the other hand, natives of Alam Higo didn't think much of us either. I guess that's my roundabout way of saying I'm surprised this contingent was even formed in the first place. I feel fortunate to be a part of it.
Please approach a contingent member and an Imperial citizen. I require input from both perspectives. I recommend you move at a brisk pace. The exertion will raise your body temperature, preventing you and Alpha from freezing to death.
A shadow from the past. Yes, I know you from Victor's spoils. Have you come to laugh at me? A wretch who chose to lose Lysania and her sister rather than accept your help. The fool who ended up reliant upon your charity nonetheless. Well, perhaps I deserve your derision. My compatriots surely scorn my failed conviction. I have shamed my people, and brought dishonor upon my nation. I am no better than a kept beast, my pride sold for a bowl of feed. But my soul, nay, that you shall not have. I have refused your honeyed offers of a new home. This land is where I belong, and this is where I shall remain.
You demonstrate opposition to the contingent's overtures. On what basis do you refuse this cooperation? The data suggests the local populace is struggling to produce the bare minimum of sustenance. Have you some secret strategy for survival? Or do your orders compel you to accept your present misfortune?
Well, must I be mocked by a machete toy now? No, I have no secret strategy. No binding orders. I but comport myself as any true Garlean patriot would. Uncompromising, unbending. Blast it all.
Once again, this input is unanticipated. Let us move aside and process what we have heard.
There is not for me here. I know this. But if I surrender my homeland, then what was it all for?
Quay. Quay. Qui.
Accessing and analyzing recorded data. Integration complete. I have evaluated this most recent input, and made comparisons to our discoveries in Rads at Han. Consistent only in their inconsistency, the responses from both contingent member and imperial citizen were highly irrational. Conversely, any Omicron considering their predicaments would have echoed my assessment exactly. The divergence from self-evident logic is key. Hypothesis. The illogical relationship between would-be saviors and suffering populace is another result of the unpredictable nature of mortal hearts. Any property or ability has inherent advantages and disadvantages. Yet never have I encountered such a unique detriment. It appears that those who share your metaphysical capabilities are prone to complicating simple cognitive processes. An undesirable quality. I will, however, persist in furthering my understanding of the subject. Query. Prior to formulating our next step, I wish to know, who is this listener the Imperial mentioned? Acknowledged. To summarize, insufficient data on foreign culture resulted in inadvisable and ultimately fatal action. I witnessed such self-destructive behavior during the course of our planetary conquests. Overwhelmed enemy forces would voluntarily withdraw into perilous regions, leading to a succession of inevitable losses. Tangential data request. I wish to learn about burial customs. The practice has ever seemed nonsensical, but new data suggests it arises from the same source as your cognitive complications. Take me to this listener's burial site. It may aid me in stand. Energy delivery systems compromised. Core temperature critically low. Warning. Immediate heating required. Request. Apply friction to outer frame.
Quay.
Temperature nominal. Energy levels stabilizing. The creators of this model must have experienced impaired cognitive reasoning during the design process. Upon our return, I will request additional climate shielding, as well as an accurate temperature sensor array. This will not affect my combat capabilities, but should improve my basic survival rate. Reconfirming sub-destination. In which direction will we find Victor's spoils? Acknowledged. Alpha, you are to remain in close proximity. Close enough to envelop me in your feathers. You are permitted to carry me on your back, if you so choose.
Quay.
A deceptively deep snowdrift almost defeated me, but we have successfully arrived at the location you indicated. Caution advised. An unknown individual appears to be investigating the object of my interest.
You're Eorzea's champion, aren't you? Kaneko Tangbin? Oh, I never introduced myself, did I?
I am Menius, soldier of the Is Legion and comrade of Huluz. Perhaps you remember me from Tertium. We spoke about collecting ceruleum, and again later on, after Lord Quintus had passed.
Manius. Explanation requested. What is the reason for your presence here?
That must be the tiniest Mahitake weapon no, it's just an oddly shaped communicator, isn't it? In any case, I have nothing worthy to report. I heard that the sisters who used to live in my sector were buried here, so I thought I'd come and pay my respects. Alphino and Alizea told me the story, complete with profuse apologies, though they were adamant that no amount of remorse could erase the tragedy of what came to pass. Not that my fellow soldiers and I are in any place to judge. We were manipulated, fooled into starting an insurrection which led to countless deaths among our own countrymen.
Objection. The casualties incurred through your infighting are distinct from those caused by the Ilsabard contingent. To restate, you are justified in seeking restitution from the contingent for causing the deaths of Lysanir and her sister. Retaliation for damages sustained is also a logical progression. I can deduce two reasons why you do not initiate hostilities with Kanekotine and her allies. 1. You judge your remaining forces too weakened to contend effectively with the contingent. 2. Your emotions are complicating the issue. Tell me, which of these is correct?
Well, when you lay it out like that. Ahem. I'm afraid my answer isn't like to win me any medals, so would you mind keeping this to yourselves? There's the unspoken thought that we're outmatched on the battlefield, certainly. But the real reason I'm not demanding restitution has little to do with weighing the odds. The simple truth is I'm so caught up with simple survival that I've no strength to spare for past grievances. The same goes for avenging any comrades we've lost, be that my brothers in arms or Lord Quintus himself. Although it seems everyone has an opinion about the manner of his passing. Some say he should have fought until the end. That he abandoned us to the enemy. Others praise him for taking the full burden of responsibility, and freeing us to walk our own path. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but I'm inclined to side with the latter. He gave us the choice of freedom, and that's the choice I made. I could cry and rant and rage, but what would be the point? I'll save my energy for worrying about my next meal, my next task. I need to focus on the ones left behind, on making some kind of life for my comrades and me. And if I need to lean on the contingent to do that, then that's what I'll do. Even if their aid comes at a price, I'm willing to pay it. Even amongst your own, there are times when cooperation demands compromise. What matter that they're outsiders? Besides, I think I could grow to like Alphino and Alizea. They've reached out to us with kindness and compassion from the very beginning.
Summation. Your desire to survive, even should it mean allying with the contingent, was a feeling you already harbored. That your side had committed worse atrocities was the logic you invented later to justify your reasoning.
Blunt but accurate, I suppose. The heart is honest about what it wants, even if the mind takes a while to reconcile the decision. Well, this has been oddly cathartic, but I must return to my duties. There are wild beasts to cull, watchfires to light, supplies to transport. Even without an emperor, there's no rest for an imperial. Be well and stay safe.
Upon review of recent input, I have arrived at an unexpected conclusion. I have been formulating my assessments on the premise that it was man who commanded the strength of his heart, but the data suggests the opposite is true. The surge of spirit, of feelings, of emotions can entangle your thoughts to such a degree that even control over your own behavior is compromised. It seems a most counterproductive specification. This also explains why my interactions with mortal subjects have produced more confusion than clarification. It presents a formidable barrier to understanding.
Quay.
My earlier hypothesis has been borne out. The suboptimal operation being conducted here is the result of emotionally compromised reasoning. I am ready to progress to my third and final query. I would learn more about those referred to as ancients. It is clear that this group was a crucial factor of the final days, but the information contained in the report was insufficient to form an overview. The Loporites are creations of the ancients, and are said to maintain repositories of their knowledge. By my calculations, the base of these moon-dwellers will provide the best source of additional data. Teleport us to their burrow Kanekotine. Preferably before my battery freezes over.
Quay.
Your teleportation spell was successful. We appear to have arrived at the location described as Bestway's Burrow. An inspection of the technology in use here would give me detailed insight into the ancients and their civilization. This body, however, lacks my previous frame's advanced observational functionality. I will require external assistance.
HM. No, it can't be. It is you. Oh, Kanekotine, I've missed you so. What's this you've brought with you? This soft, feathery vision. We've been outfluffed. Pack up the moon, it's all over. Why bother with burrow building bunnies when you could walk around with this adorable avian engineer? Just bake me into a pie and be done with it. Inspect our inventions. Wait, sir, you're not done with us. Haha, I wasn't truly worried, of course. And I certainly wasn't about to roll myself in dough and dive into cooking Way's new oven. Ahem. If a technical breakdown is what you need, then I am your Lopori. As the resident atmospheric regulation expert, I can field any question or query you might care to pose.
Acceptable. I will employ this being to guide me around the facilities. Your presence is not mandatory. Even locked within my current chassis, I am still an autonomous construct that has endured hundreds of your life cycles. I am capable of completing this simple objective alone. Objective complete. After my 50th question, his responses began to suffer noticeable delays. By that stage, we had viewed a representative cross-section of Lopari engineering, thus I deemed it unnecessary to retain his company. Conclusion. Extrapolating from the fraction of technology on display, the full spectrum of the ancients' advancements was, at minimum, equivalent to a level 4 civilization. A fact which demands further investigation. Despite establishing a near-ideal society, these beings nevertheless harbored a weakness which invited self-destruction. In studying them, I stand to gain a greater understanding of Sir's anomalous decision. Growing Way informed me that another type of ancient-made entity exists upon this satellite. The one they call the Watcher. I would speak to him. Then conserve your ether. We will ride this Argus to our destination, as you have suggested.
Quakeway. Queequeequay.
Impedance detected. The creature identified as Argus refuses to acknowledge our presence. Hypothesis. Upon our arrival, Growing Way expressed concern that he had been outfluffed. This suggests the existence of a fluff-based hierarchy. My station in such a system would be predictably low, but Argus is adamant in ignoring even Alpha. Its fluffiness level is impossible to gauge.
Argus turns to you with an impassive gaze. It seems you will need to intervene. Argus gives an exasperated snort before motioning to his back. It seems you have permission to climb aboard.
You have secured the creature's permission. Curious. Is it your fluffy tail which provides such exemplary standing in the hierarchy? I have allowed myself to become distracted. Let us continue on to the Watcher at once. the Watcher located? An estimate of this being's height explains the inconvenient scale of Bestway's burrow.
Qui.
I was bemused by the arrival of these small visitors, but I see they are companions of yours. What a rare thing for my abode to be thus crowded. How may I be of service to you?
Hello, Watcher. My purpose here is to learn more about the ancients. I would know of their deeds, their philosophies, the very nature of their hearts. I would understand why the final days was visited upon my home star.
A worthy endeavor. But there is another better suited to assisting you with that task. Perhaps you might favor us with a tale or two of the ancients you met during your travels, K-Nekotin. My fragmented memories would be a pale substitute indeed for the clarity of your more recent experiences. Yes, I can envision every detail. Your meeting with Venet and Emmett Selch and Hythlodeus. The sorrow and determination of Hermes. I am a creation of Hydaelyn, and as such, I believe the age of the ancients would fade and be forgotten. Yet knowing that their memory lives so vividly within you, it brings me great joy. I pray you keep them close to your heart. At the time of your journey to the past, the one whose essence I embody would have been a scholar at Aneder. A shame. Had you reason to go there, perhaps you might have met. As a man of learning, he was firm friends with Venet. They spent long hours trading theories, or debating the laws of the universe. I remember joining her faction as the final days bore down upon us. Yet of the events surrounding that tragedy, I recall precious little. Hydaelyn wished for the people of your age to decide their own path, thus I suspect my recollection was limited by design. Yet even she could not cut away one persistent memory. I feel most distinctly his sadness at what was to come to pass. That in becoming Hydaelyn's heart, Venet would forever stand apart from the people she so loved. If she were so resolved in her convictions, then he, too, would share her sleepless vigil over the future yet to unfold. This was the vow he made to Venet as her transformation took hold. His fervent wish must have reached her in some fashion. For though his life was drained away by the summoning, he was reborn with new form and new purpose when I awoke as the Watcher of the Moon. And you heard, K-Nekotin. You felt. You thought. And in seizing the future for yourselves have you brought full circle the saga which Venet began. What you accomplished was no divine miracle. It was but the beacon of hope, passed down from one generation to the next, a succession of wishes and prayers reshaping the star into the world we knew you deserved. You have our deepest gratitude. I thank you not only as myself, but as the man I once was, and on behalf of those who devoted themselves to Venet's vision.
I understand the facts of your story, K-Nekotin, but not how you have chosen to process them. On what grounds do you speak of Venart with such fondness? By sundering the world, she ultimately guided your kind to victory, yet in doing so caused irreparable damage to its individual members. The full scale of that act is beyond calculation. It is evident, however, that it resulted in a protracted period of suboptimal existence for Emmett Selch and his brethren. Query. If the survival of your kind is the deciding factor in your evaluation, then should you not also admire Hermes and his decision to subject man to a trial, forcing you to change or perish, as was the fate of countless civilizations before you? From my perspective, his determination was similar to that of the Omicron's ancestors, those who first began trading flesh for machine, so that our people might stand against the onslaught of aggression from other races. It was an unprecedented attempt, accompanied by much failure and sacrifice. Their early experiments were crude, primitive. Had they not made those first advances, however, we would have remained vulnerable to our environment. The violence would have utterly consumed us. And what of Emmett Selch himself? Judging by your retelling, he was a benevolent ally saddled with tragic fate. Yet I remember the years when my instruments fed me data from events across the entire star. During that time, I witnessed his Asians engineer multiple instances of cataclysmic strife. These calamities, as you know them, were responsible for planet-wide destruction. A man whose endgame relied upon the extinction of all modern mortals must, by definition, be your worst enemy. I require an answer. As a being of heart and soul, how do you classify each of these pivotal figures? From your perspective, which of them was most justified in their actions? I think I understand.
You seek a definitive answer. Yet based on our experiences, K-Necotine and I might develop very different opinions. In the same fashion, you are free to form your own thoughts on the matter. Do not be so swift to consider them without merit.
I do not have my own thoughts on the matter. I assess each situation with the same logic pathways available to every Omicron. Even if 1,000 Omicrons were asked to analyze the same event, they would all return the same result, regardless of individual experience. There is no strength to be found in fractured reasoning. Nonetheless, I find your input valuable. Recording data alongside interview results. This concludes my investigation into the incomplete elements of the final day's report. I will reanalyze the accumulated information, and examine the factors which led to Sir's incomprehensible decision. Let us return to Thalmazin.
It was pleasant to hear your tales of Elvis. Should you ever need an audience familiar with the subject, I would be glad to listen to more of your recollections. Even with one's gaze fixed upon the future, we oftentimes find our thoughts drifting to the past. 'Tis a shame that Heidelin never chose to speak of it.
Ah, Mistress Kanekotine. I have been made aware of your coming. Please use the lift here.
Queequay, Qui.
You had a fruitful trip, I hope. I am absolutely bursting to ask about your experiences with Omega, but I don't wish to be a pest. I will swallow my questions for now, and maintain my academic decorum. Besides, it seems our engineering friends are in a hurry to leave.
Kanekotine. I wasn't sure you'd be back in time.
Ah, there you are, right at the last moment. Your journey with Omega was properly educational, I hope. We would plan to ask you all about it and that mystery transmission besides, but I'm afraid something urgent has come up. Seems one of our Ironworks associates has fouled up a job elsewhere, and Jesse needs Wedge and me to rush in and lend a hand. There's an airship already waiting for us out in the harbor. In fact, do you think you could escort us over there and talk as we walk?
Acceptable. I am fully capable of speech during ambulation.
I figured you might be. Right, let's get a move on, then. So, you have cleared up all those points of confusion, then.
I had mistakenly classified your intangible heart as an ability of some kind. An uncanny power that Omicrons could neither learn nor even measure. Even now, its full nature yet eludes my comprehension. Based upon our investigations, however, I have decided to alter my definition. A phenomenon which influences one's interpretation of reality. That is as close to an answer as I have found. Accordingly, Sir's actions upon meeting Metian strongly indicate the presence of a heart. Sir did not follow routine logic, but formulated an independent assessment based upon the reality it perceived. It felt that the best recourse for the Omicrons was to cease their expansion, and terminate all functions.
Well, here's our ship.
We need to be going. But first, I'll hold you to your bargain, Omega. It's time you told us what was in that transmission from the flight logs.
Acknowledged. I will uphold the terms of our agreement. The recording salvaged from the Ragnarok was a simple one. The message is so basic, in fact, that the time spent listening to it may result in a net loss of value. Shall I continue?
Now you're just teasing. Tell us the message already.
Acknowledged. Converting dialect code into local language. To whomever receives this message out there in the vast reaches of the cosmos. To someone, I hope, who looks up at the stars with the same wistful gaze as mine. To you I say, forge ahead. May all our tomorrows be blessed with joy. This message had no designated recipient. It lacks purpose. The concept of joy is overly abstract. The vocal supplication to manifest said joy is unrealistic in its optimism. Yet based upon their expressions, my assessment of the transmission's value conflicts with its apparent impact. And still, I failed to understand you, sir. Your heart still confuses me. Was termination of everything the correct course? How did you arrive at this conclusion? It defies all my attempts at reasoning. But I was designed to evolve. If I continue to learn, the probability that I eventually comprehend this phenomenon is greater than zero. So I will put the dilemma of your decision aside for now. And continue my existence upon this distant star. As I dwell among these many life forms, so will I continue to piece together the complete shape of their mortal hearts. I must document their progress.
Quick.
Your contribution to my education is appreciated, Kanekotime. Indeed, I have amassed a satisfying quantity of valuable data. Now that our negotiated business is complete, however, Alpha and I will return to traveling the world. Drawing on recent experience, I am confident we can expand the radius of our ventures by a significant margin. We need not limit ourselves to Eorzean. I am now familiar with Sharlayan and Rats at hand, and would also like to revisit the freezing climes of Garlem. I neglected to instruct Vix and Wedge to upgrade my climate shielding. I will reroute my request to Deputy President Cecil. Engaging ambulation and parting salutations. Farewell, Kanek Hotime.
Alpha gives a vigorous shake, and draws forth a scrap of paper from under his wing.
Quite.
It seems he wants you to have it. Perhaps this is his way of thanking you.
Swiftly, Alpha. The road is long and we have barely begun our journey.
Gazing out upon the ocean like this sets my adventurous spirit ablaze. Myriad wonders are simply waiting to be discovered. Why not venture forth and find them?